You have a list. Maybe it's written down. Maybe it just lives in your head permanently, quietly judging you. Exercise more. Work on that project. Call that person back. Learn that thing you said you were going to learn. The list isn't the problem. You know what's on it. You know it matters. You might even genuinely want to do it. You just can't make yourself start. And then comes the part nobody talks about, the guilt. The loop where you feel bad about not doing the thing, which makes you feel worse, which makes starting feel even harder, which makes you feel worse about that. By the end of the day, you've exhausted yourself doing nothing, and you're not even sure how. Here's what I want to tell you before we go any further. That experience is not a personality flaw. It is not laziness. It is not a sign that you're broken or weak or that other people have something you don't. It is a biological system behaving exactly the way biology behaves when certain inputs are off. And once you understand what those inputs are, the whole thing stops being a mystery and starts being something you can actually work with. So let's go through it. Most people have heard that dopamine is the pleasure chemical. You do something good, dopamine releases, you feel good. That's the popular version. It's also mostly wrong. Dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about anticipation. It fires before the reward, not during it. Its job is to make you want to pursue things, to generate the internal signal that says this is worth getting up for. When researchers block dopamine in rats, the rats don't lose the ability to feel pleasure. They lose the will to pursue it. They'll eat food placed directly in their mouths and enjoy it. They just won't walk across the room to get it. That distinction matters enormously. Motivation, in biological terms, isn't a mood. It's a dopamine-driven anticipation signal. When your dopamine system is calibrated correctly, your brain looks at a goal and generates enough forward pull to get you moving. When it isn't, the goal might still look good on paper. You might still want it abstractly. But the signal that actually gets your body moving doesn't fire. The car wants to go, but the ignition isn't catching. The system can go wrong in two directions. You can have low dopamine production, which is associated with depression and certain neurological conditions. But the more common modern problem isn't low dopamine. It's a dopamine system that's been calibrated to the wrong baseline. And that's where things get interesting. Your brain's dopamine system evolved in an environment where rewards were rare and required effort. Food meant hunting or foraging. Social connection meant physical proximity. Novelty meant genuine discovery. The dopamine system is designed to fire hard for things that are hard to get, and to use that firing to motivate the effort required to get them. Then we built the modern world. Social media delivers social validation in doses of about 3 seconds. Food engineering has produced products specifically calibrated to hit dopamine receptors harder than anything found in nature. Video games, streaming platforms, and infinite scroll feeds are all designed by teams of engineers whose literal job is to maximize the frequency of dopamine triggers in your brain. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a publicly documented design philosophy. The attention economy runs on your dopamine system, and it has been optimizing against you for 20 years. The problem isn't that any of these things feel good. The problem is what happens over time. When you repeatedly expose a biological system to stimulation levels it wasn't designed for, it adapts. Dopamine receptors downregulate. They become less sensitive because the brain is trying to maintain equilibrium. The system that was calibrated for rare, effortful rewards is now calibrated for constant, effortless ones. And once that recalibration happens, everything below that new baseline stops feeling worth doing. This is why you can spend 3 hours scrolling and then feel completely unable to open a document and write one paragraph. It's not that the paragraph is harder than scrolling. It's that scrolling has spent 3 hours raising the stimulation floor, and a blank document sitting quietly on your screen cannot compete with that. You haven't become lazy. You've been outgunned. The particularly insidious part is that the overstimulation doesn't feel like stimulation. It feels like relaxation. You feel like you're resting. Meanwhile, your dopamine system is being trained, rep by rep, to require more and more to feel anything at all. This next section is shorter because if you watched the last video, you already know most of it. But there's a specific piece worth naming here. Sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired. It directly reduces dopamine receptor sensitivity. Studies have shown that a single night of poor sleep produces measurable changes in how your brain's dopamine receptors respond to stimulation. This means a sleep-deprived brain is running a motivation system that's operating below normal capacity before you've even gotten out of bed. The two problems also feed each other in a loop that's worth understanding. Low motivation leads to poor sleep hygiene, staying up too late, using your phone in bed, no wind-down routine. Poor sleep leads to lower dopamine sensitivity. Lower dopamine sensitivity leads to lower motivation. Lower motivation leads to the same poor habits that night. around and around. If you feel unmotivated and you're also sleeping badly, you're not dealing with two separate problems. You're dealing with one loop. And breaking it at either point helps break it at both. I'm not going to give you a 10-step plan. You've read 10-step plans before. They didn't work. Not because you failed them, but because no one actually does 10 things differently at once. Instead, here's one thing, with a clear reason why it works, that you can do starting tomorrow. Protect the first 30 minutes of your day from dopamine stimulation. No phone, no social media, no news, no content, no podcasts, no notifications. Before you do any of that, let your brain wake up on its own terms. Here's why this is the specific window that matters. Your dopamine system comes online gradually after sleep. In the first 30 to 45 minutes of being awake, it's at its most sensitive. The receptors are fresh, the baseline hasn't been set yet for the day. Whatever you expose your brain to in that window sets the stimulation floor for the next several hours. If the first input is your phone, the highlight reel, the notifications, the news, the metrics, you've immediately calibrated your dopamine system against content designed by professionals to be as stimulating as possible. Everything that follows, including your actual work and your actual goals, gets measured against that benchmark. And most things in real life lose that comparison badly. If instead the first input is just existing, moving your body, getting outside light, having a quiet coffee, sitting with your own thoughts, your dopamine system starts the day at a natural baseline. The work you need to do doesn't have to compete with engineered stimulation. It just has to be worth doing. Which, for most people, it actually is. This isn't a permanent vow to quit your phone. You're not deleting anything. You're creating a 30-minute gap between waking up and handing your brain's dopamine calibration over to someone else. That's it. It will feel strange at first, possibly uncomfortable. Your brain will want input. That urge is the recalibration process starting. The discomfort is the signal, not the problem. So here's the actual picture. Motivation isn't a personality trait. It isn't something some people have and others don't. It's a biological output produced by a system that responds to inputs. The dopamine system that drives motivation is the same system that's being targeted deliberately and continuously by the most sophisticated technology humans have ever built. And most of us have been running that system on poor sleep, processed food, and a morning routine that hands it over to a screen before we finish the first thought of the day. You're not lazy, you've been miscalibrated. And the thing about a calibration problem is that it can be fixed. Start with the 30 minutes. Not because it solves everything, but because it changes the one window where your brain is actually listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.